make up about a third.
Unless I'm sitting, hey.
We're not an exclusive club.
Hello. Good morning. Welcome to All Souls, where love is the spirit of our community. Whether you are joining us in person, online, in the present, or catching up with us later, please know that you matter to this community. In this time of great division, may you find hope, love, and community here. Now please rise in body or spirit to greet your neighbor with your name and pronouns, and for folks online, please introduce yourselves in the chat.
Please join us in hymn number 352 in the gray hymnal, Find a Stillness.
Find a stillness, hold the stillness, let the stillness carry me. Find the silence, hold the silence, let the silence carry me. In the Spirit, by the Spirit, with the Spirit giving power, I will
All right. I am Austin Mitchell. My pronouns are he, him, and I'm serving as the worship associate for today's service. Together with Nancy Olson, the Director of Congregational Life and Faith Formation, and Maria Renner, a UU seminarian, and Liz Elsmore, our music director, all of whom with she, her, or a pronouns. We are your worship team on the chancel today. Reverend Katie Romano Griffin is taking vacation this week. We'll see her back in the pulpit on February 8th. We extend a warm and joyful welcome to people of all ages. If you have little ones with you, nursery care is available for your convenience. We also invite everyone to complete a connection card. You can complete a physical card and place it in the offering basket, or you can fill out a digital connection card by scanning the QR code on our table outside where the guest name tags are. This is a fantastic way to let us know how we can support you, as well as share any interests, comments, or questions that you may have. Today, we are joined by Maria Renner, pronoun she, ea. Maria is an aspirant with the UUA and a UU seminarian studying at Methodist Theological Seminary in Ohio with plans to graduate in May 2028. Maria is a member of UUI, the Unitarian Universalist Church of Indianapolis, and was serving as their worship team chair and pastoral care associate, and she lives in Indianapolis with her son. And now, as we begin our time together, we acknowledge the land itself and those who have sustained it throughout the generations. We are upon the unceded land of the Lenape, Miamia, Kaskaskia, Shawnee, and Kickapoo people who were pushed from their land and whose children have been stolen for generations. As we strive to be a community of justice, may we continue to find ways to make real reparations. And now, some words from Reverend Katie. Shh. Can you hear it? Silence. My heartbeat or yours? The intake of breath from your neighbor, your cat, or maybe something else. In this moment, in this stillness, exists mysteries and miseries, joys and hopes. Tune in, listen deeply. Let us worship.
Good morning. Jackie's going to light the chalice today. One of our teachers. Thank you, Jackie. This ritual of lighting our chalice, it reminds us to continually renew our promise, to live into our covenant, to put love into action, and to live out this community of love and justice that we aim to be. So if you would please rise in body or spirit as we share the words that are printed in your order of celebration. They're in Spanish and English. If you're with us online, we love to know where you are lighting your chalice from. And let us say the words in Spanish first. El amor es el espíritu de esta iglesia, y el servicio es su ley, vivir juntos en paz, buscar la verdad en el amor, y ayudarnos unos a otros. Este es nuestro pacto. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. This is our covenant. Thank you. Bonnie and Jackie are going to help tell the story this morning. Okay. We've told this, I've told this, we, royal we, I have told this story before. But you know, it's a good one, and it's good to tell some of these stories over and over again. Each time we might get a little something different from it. So this is The Rabbit Listened by Corey Dorfield. The rabbit listened. One day, Taylor decided to build something new, something special, something amazing. Taylor was so proud. But then, out of nowhere came something Things came crashing down. The chicken was the first to notice, looking at all those blocks down there. Cluck, 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 what a shame. I'm so sorry this happened. Let's talk about it. Let's talk, cluck, cluck, cluck. But Taylor didn't feel like talking, so the chicken left. Next came the bear. Grrr, how horrible. I bet you feel so angry. Let's shout it out. Grrr, rrr, rrr. But Taylor didn't feel like shouting. He didn't feel like being angry like that. And so the bear left. But the elephant knew just what to do. Trump-da-da, I can fix this. We just need to remember exactly the way things were. But Taylor didn't feel like remembering. So also the elephant left. So one by one, the animals came. The hyena, let's laugh about it. The ostrich, gulp, let's hide and pretend that nothing happened. The kangaroo, tisk, tisk, what a mess, let's throw it all away. And the snake, let's go knock down someone else's. But Taylor didn't feel like doing anything with anybody. So eventually they all left until Taylor was all alone. In the quiet, Taylor didn't even notice the rabbit. But it moved closer and closer until Taylor could feel its warm body. Together they sat in silence until Taylor said, "Please stay with me." The rabbit listened. The rabbit listened as Taylor talked. The rabbit listened as Taylor shouted. The rabbit listened as Taylor remembered and laughed. And the rabbit listened to Taylor's plan to hide, to throw everything away, to ruin things for someone else. And through it all, the rabbit never left. And when the time was right, the rabbit listened to Taylor's plan to build again. "I can't wait," Taylor said, "because it's going to be amazing." In this time of so much happening in our lives, perhaps the best thing we can be for each other is a listening ear. Not a problem solver or a clucker, but a listening ear. All right.
Please join me in taking a few moments to note that which is currently bringing joy or sorrow to our community. We hold in our hearts Virginia Snell, Derek, and Melanie in this time as they navigate the passing of Virginia's mom, Elaine Beeson, this week. Together, we also grieve the loss of longtime member Walter Bishop. We hold Abigail Bishop and their entire family in our hearts. And now, let us hold a moment of silence for the joys and sorrows in our heart that are yet unnamed. Thank you. And now, please rise in body or spirit as we sing hymn number 1008 in the Teal hymnal, When Our Heart is in a Holy Place.
When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we trust the wisdom in each of us, every color, every creed and kind, and we see our faces in each other's eyes, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we tell our stories from deep inside, and we listen with a loving mind, and we hear our voices in each other's words, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we share the silence of sacred space, and the God of our hearts stills within, and we feel the power of each other's faith, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, when we are blessed with love and amazing grace, when our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place.
Good morning. Thank you to all the kind people of All Souls for having me back in your pulpit. It is good to be with you here in person, and also for those joining on Zoom or who may be tuning in later. With so much is happening in the world right now, so many updates and overlapping crises, I just want to begin by inviting you to bring your whole selves into this space. Bring any worries into this space. Bring your fears into this space. Bring any anxieties or doubts into this space. Whatever you are carrying today, bring all of it into this space of sanctuary, for all of it is holy and sacred. So come as you are, distracted, confused, curious, wondering. The title of the message today is Another Way to Listen. The title comes from a children's book called The Other Way to Listen by an author named Byrd Baylor. Baylor wrote a series of books from the 1960s to the 1990s. They were all set within the landscapes of the American Southwest and include a profound connection between people and the land. The illustrations are simple and beautiful, but what impacted me the most were the lessons that seemed to invite us into expanding our listening, our noticing, our patience, and awareness with the natural world. I recently read this book with my 8-year-old son, and that experience is what initially sparked this sermon. The story follows a young child who is curious about an old man known for his unusual way of listening. This old man can hear the hills murmuring and singing. He notices the sound of the wildflower seeds breaking open underground and can hear the entire sky full of stars. He wonders how a rock feels about the lizard resting on its surface. And he knows a friend who could hear the sound of cactus flowers opening and blooming in the darkness. At first, I thought this was a story about how to listen more deeply to nature. But the longer I sat with it, the more I realized something deeper was happening. For me, this book is not only about hearing and attuning to the natural world, it is about undoing the way our culture has trained us to listen narrowly and urgently and extractively. It is about recognizing that how we listen is not neutral. It has been shaped by history, by power, and by systems that value separation, control, and efficiency. And it is about remembering that another way of listening is possible. I actually brought this book that I'm referencing I read with my son, if anyone wants to look at it after the service. The question became not just how can we listen better, but what kind of listening have we been taught to do, and what exactly has been lost along the way? And this matters deeply for us as Unitarian Universalists. Does the way we listen today make room for relationship, responsibility, and care, especially in a world that has so much harm and injustice? Listening is often understood as a physical process. Sound enters our ears, the brain processes it, and meaning is made. But listening is more than a biological function. Listening is also cultural. It is relational and shaped by worldviews. How we listen, what we value in sounds, what voices we trust, and whose voices we dismiss are all influenced by systems of knowledge and power. Listening is not something we just do with our ears. It is a practice influenced by our history. One way to name this is colonial listening. Colonial listening is a way of listening shaped by colonial histories. It includes separation, extraction, objectification, and control. Sound becomes data, resource, or background. Voices are disconnected from the land, relationship, and spiritual meaning. Listening has been reduced to something that can be measured, owned, or used. This does not mean that hearing is colonized. Our bodies have evolved over thousands of years to respond to sound in relationship to the natural world. Our nervous systems are still capable of attuning to the birds, the wind, the nature and seasons around us in silence. What has been colonized is our interpretation of the sound, our value systems around listening, our habits of attention. Over the last 100 years, this narrowing has become especially visible. Studies of Western definitions of listening in psychology and education identified 19 different formal definitions used from 1925 through the early 2010s. Almost all of them describe listening as a mental or behavioral skill focused on understanding words, remembering information, and responding effectively. Listening has become something that the mind does in order to achieve a goal. What disappeared was listening as responsibility, listening as a relationship, listening as something that changes the listener. This shift fits the needs of our systems that are built on extraction and speed. We live in a world that is loud in a very specific way, not just noisy, but totally saturated. Saturated with urgency, opinion, and certainty, silence is often treated as absence. Pausing can be treated as a weakness. Listening is treated as a delay. These are not neutral conditions. They train us to listen for threat, for compliance, and for alignment. They keep our nervous systems activated and reactive. And when we live in that state, it becomes difficult to stay grounded, compassionate, or connected. In this context, deep listening becomes an act of resistance. To listen deeply is to refuse the pace of extraction. It is to refuse to treat people, land, or even sound itself as something to be consumed. Decolonizing listening begins with understanding listening as a cultural and relational practice, not just a physical one. It means noticing how urgency, hierarchy, and control has impacted our attention. It means unlearning habits that disconnect us from the land, from each other, and from ourselves. This unlearning is also a remembering. Across many indigenous traditions, listening is understood not as an individual skill, but as a relational and ethical practice. In Australia, this can be seen through the relationship between the Dadiri and songlines. Dadiri is a concept from the Aboriginal people, often translated as deep listening, but it means much more than listening to the words. It's a kind of listening that is deeply patient, gives respectful attention to the land, spirit, silence, and relationship. Dadiri does not rush understanding or seek to control. This way of listening makes songlines possible. Songlines are ancestral pathways across the lands that are remembered and kept alive through song. They are said to be encoded with history, geography, responsibility. Some songlines are local routes, while others extend hundreds or even thousands of miles, crossing deserts, rivers, mountains, and coastlines. Together, they form networks that span much of all of Australia. Songlines are not simply songs that are heard, they are paths that are listened to, walked, and cared for. People use these songlines to navigate the land by listening and singing. Each verse describes landmarks, water sources, directions, and changes in terrain. By knowing the songs in the correct order, a person could travel long distances accurately, even across unfamiliar territory, using their listening, their memory, and their relationship with the land to remember, rather than using our smartphones and GPS and maps or written signs. No one owns the songline. People are entrusted with it. And this is seen in other traditions across Native American, Maori, Andean, and East Asian traditions. Listening is multi-sensory, embodied, and spiritual. It is something you live, not something you do. In Audre Lorde's 1977 essay, Poetry is Not a Luxury, she writes about Black, ancient, and non-European ways of knowing as part of reclaiming lived experience, and says that if we learn to cherish our feelings and respect the hidden sources of our power, that is where real knowledge and lasting action comes from. In other words, when listening is rooted in the body, in feeling, and in relationship, it becomes the source of meaningful change. Decolonizing listening also means expanding what listening looks like. Listening is not the same as hearing. Listening is not the same as verbal processing. Listening is not the same as stillness, eye contact, or attention in one specifically approved form. Listening is multimodal. Our bodies listen. The land listens. Communities listen. Different nervous systems listen in different ways. Some people listen through movement, some through silence, some through emotion, intuition, or pattern. These are not lesser forms of listening. They are forms of wisdom that the dominant systems have often dismissed because they cannot be easily controlled. Expanding listening in this way also challenges ableism. When we assume listening must look a certain way, we exclude many bodies and minds. When we broaden listening, we affirm that presence matters more than performance. This is deeply connected to our Unitarian Universalist values. We affirm the inherent worth and dignity of every person. That affirmation requires practices that make the dignity real. Listening is one of those practices. We also affirm an interconnected web of existence. That belief cannot be lived if our listening excludes the land, silence, and more than human life. Listening, then, becomes a spiritual discipline, not listening to comply, not listening to perform, but listening to remain in relationship. Near the end of writing this sermon, I realized I had already been practicing another way to listen without realizing it. While we were on a hike, my son taught me about a practice he had learned from a wilderness awareness program he had attended. This practice is called a sit spot. A sit spot is simple. You go to the same place in nature or indoors, and you sit quietly, and you listen to everything that you can hear. A sit spot helps a person slow down and feel more connected to themselves and the world around them. By sitting and listening without trying to do anything, it reminds us that we are a part of nature, not separate from it. Listening changes the listener. Sitting there with my son on our hike, I noticed how my own listening and awareness shifted. I initially had thoughts wondering how much time were we using on this activity and how many more miles we had ahead of us. Would we be bitten by mosquitoes and bugs if we stopped? I had to calm my own inner voices around needing to continue, to hurry up and finish, and how much extra time this was adding to our hike. Once those voices settled, I found a deep inner stillness and noticed the same within my son. I learned that listening is something we offer space with for our whole being. It was right after this moment we both saw an orange, broad-headed skink that we both made eye contact with and winked at us. True story. When we allow ourselves to listen like that, whether to nature, to each other, we participate in something larger than ourselves. Another way to listen is not passive. It is a choice. It refuses the idea that faster is better, that louder means clearer, and that certainty is the same as faithfulness. Faithfulness in this tradition often looks like patience. It looks like humility. It looks like staying present when things are unfinished. May this community continue to practice listening as resistance, as spiritual discipline, and as care. May listening remain a way of staying human in our world that profits from our distraction. Amen, Ashe, and blessed be.
This week, as we continue to move toward right relations, we are sharing our offering plate with the Miami Nation Honor Fund. This organization provides non-Indigenous people the opportunity to repair the harm caused by colonization and supports the Miami tribe in sustaining their community and culture. To contribute, you can gift cash or a check into the collection plate, or if online, you can go to allsoulsindy.org and click How to Donate at the top of the page. If you are paying online or using a check, please indicate if your gift is a pledge or for Share the Plate. Thank you for your generosity in supporting the mission of All Souls and for your continued love for one another and this world. The morning offering may now be given and gratefully received.
Our closing words today are Barbara Hamilton Holloway. Go now in peace. Deeply regard each other. Truly listen to each other. Speak what each of you must speak. Be ready in any moment to disarm your own heart, and always live as if a realm of love has begun. So be it, blessed be, and amen.